Welcome to Legendary Drama. Today we are summarizing drama Crash Landing on You. Yoon Se-ri is a young and successful owner of a clothing company. She is very skilled at marketing and dates top-tier celebrities to make use of them so that the paparazzi will take photos and she can showcase the clothes and jewelry she wears. She comes from a prestigious and wealthy family, however, she does not care about her father's company as she is financially independent from a young age. However, she has two incompetent brothers who want to inherit their father's company. However, her father wants her to take over the company. She accepts her father's proposal, but asked him for more time. Even though she appeared to be calm, she was extremely excited. The day before the takeover, Se-ri wanted to skydive. Despite her assistant warning her about the extreme weather conditions, she was determined to go. While she was in the sky with the photographer capturing her, a fierce gust of wind blew, and she went higher and higher. A tornado swept her up and she screamed loudly. But when she woke up, she was hanging from a tree branch. When she woke up, she realized that she was blown to a desolate place and had no connection from her walkie-talkie. She called for help desperately, and just then Yoon Hyuk, who was patrolling the area, heard her scream and followed the sound. He is the captain of a military camp near the North Korean border. He saw Se-ri hanging from the tree, and she was overjoyed to see someone coming to rescue her. She saw the logo on his hat and realized he was a North Korean soldier. He raised his gun as a signal for her to jump down from the tree. She complied, and while jumping, she accidentally fell into his arms. Se-ri told Yoon Hyuk that she was from South Korea and was skydiving, but was caught up in a tornado, hence landed her. He insisted on taking her back for further investigations as they might forcibly detain her if they thought that she was a spy. She tried to run away with Yoon Hyuk, but they ran into a minefield. She managed to pass through it successfully and kept on running until she reached a barbed wire fence, and she thought she safely made it back to South Korea. A group of North Korean soldiers were chasing behind her and they told her not to jump, however she still went ahead. This made Yoon Hyuk feel helpless and he had no choice but to call his subordinates who were guarding the tower to make a request for Se-ri to come back. However, the soldier was too absorbed in his drama that he never saw Se-ri. Se-ri sustained injuries and lost her way, but she began marking a trail to find her way. Yoon Hyuk led his team to search for Se-ri's whereabouts as he was afraid that if anyone else discovered her presence before him, the consequences would be dire, and everyone would face severe punishment. The team found the clothing that Se-ri had left behind and also spotted the markings on the trees that she had used to indicate the way. Se-ri finally arrived at a village and was so happy initially. However, when she realized that the residents referred to each other as comrades, they had to ration their electricity and elementary students had to march to school. At that moment, Cheo gang car drove past and Yoon Hyuk quickly pulled her into a nearby house. Se-ri was delighted and relieved to see him again, and she did not expect him to be so good-looking. She asked him for help to leave the area. Yoon Hyuk on the other hand was thinking of a way to get Se-ri out without anyone noticing, because according to the country's regulations he was supposed to kill Se-ri, but he could not bring himself to do so. Se-ri thought that Yoon Hyuk was interested in her and suggested going to his house for dinner. He prepared a bowl of handmade noodles for Se-ri, but she told him to have the first bite as she was afraid he would poison the food. She explained that she was a famous person in South Korea and wanted to show it to him on the internet, but then realized that there was no internet available. Se-ri promised that when she returned to her country, she would reward Yoon Hyuk with many benefits, but he was not tempted by such things. Suddenly, the soldiers in his unit arrived at his house and were shocked by Se-ri's presence, and they gathered to discuss the situation. Jisoo was convinced that Se-ri was a South Korean spy and deemed her very dangerous, so they needed to deal with her soon, but Se-ri insisted she was not. She said that if her presence was discovered by others, all of them would face severe consequences. She said she only wanted to return to the place where she had been swept away by the tornado. However, it was impossible as there is a high-voltage electrical grid between South and North Korea. Se-ri urged Yoon Hyuk to come up with a solution emphasizing the need for unity among them as she did not want to jeopardize everyone's safety. At that time, Comrade Joo Myok suggested seeking help from his uncle, who might be able to help Se-ri cross the border, however, she would require to wait 3 more days. Se-ri was concerned that she would not arrive in time for the board meeting, but there was no other choice, so she reluctantly agreed to wait. Yoon Hyuk told her that during her stay, she was not allowed to leave the house, or talk to others, and absolutely could not mention the word South Korea. Se-ri in return boldly requested to have meat for her meals as that was what she was used to back in South Korea. Yoon Hyuk had to return to work. He showed Se-ri how to use the landline phone to contact him in case of emergency. Se-ri said she would not bother him, but she called him multiple times for minute things such as if he had bathtubs, shower gel, hot water, and even scented candles. Yoon Hyuk got angry and told her if she wanted a hot water bath there was only one way. She boiled hot water and used a cloth to wrap around the edge of a wooden tub and managed to have her bathe. Later, the power went out and everyone had already prepared lamps or candles, but Se-ri was caught off guard and did not know what to do. She called Yoon Hyuk, but he did not answer his phone. Just then someone entered the courtyard with a flashlight. Worried that it might be an intruder, Se-ri held up a flower vase to defend herself. However, to her relief, it was Yoon Hyuk who returned. He brought a candle for her to use during the outage, and she was overwhelmed by the situation and burst into tears. She was always living a luxurious life and now she is in an unknown place, crying in front of a stranger. Yoon Hyuk told her to cry freely and that things would get better. He informed Se-ri that he had to go to Pyongyang for work and would not be able to escort her back, however his team members would help her. Suddenly, Se-ri asked for Yoon Hyuk's name but he did not reveal it and simply advised her to forget everything that happened here once she returned to South Korea. She went back to the room and lit the candle. She saw a bag of things he had bought for her and it included personal belongings such as shampoo, body wash and even iodine solution for her wound. She was deeply touched by Yoon Hyuk's warmth. After Yoon Hyuk arrived in Pyongyang, the team members came to Se-ri to keep her company. Joo Myeok often discussed Korean movie plots with her. Jisoo argued with Se-ri often and often made remarks about her. That night there was a routine inspection in the village. Cheogang noticed the lights on in Yoon Hyuk's house even though he was not in town and ordered his subordinates to unlock the gate of his house. Everyone entered to search and when they saw the food storage cellar, they discovered Se-ri hiding there. Thankfully, Yoon Hyuk returned in time and asked why Cheogang was treating his fiancée so rudely. Cheogang did not believe him and demanded to see her identity card. He said that she was a member of Unit 11, an intelligence unit of North Korea in South Korea, in other words, a spy. Se-ri pretended to be a helpless wife, leaning on Yoon Hyuk and everyone left. He told her he had no choice to lie to protect her. Upon hearing that Se-ri was Yoon Hyuk's fiancé, they gossiped among themselves and whispered behind their backs suggesting that Yoon Hyuk did not seem to have feelings for Se-ri. She was unhappy about hearing such comments and requested that Yoon Hyuk tell everyone that she was the one who left him when she leaves. At night, Se-ri could not sleep and the two of them talked throughout the night. It turned out that Yoon Hyuk had been a student at a music school. The next morning, the villagers gathered in front of Yoon Hyuk's house, and Se-ri suggested that they go for a walk so they can admire her beauty. Yoon Hyuk helped her tie her hair and sent her off to the door, and even told him to pat her head to show her affection, and waved goodbye to him to express her feelings for everyone to see. Before her departure, Se-ri organized an award ceremony to the team and they were excited. Yoon Hyuk, who always seemed cold on the outside, was disappointed he did not win a prize. Seeing that Yoon Hyuk's disappointed face, Se-ri took him to the garden and showed him the tomato plant she had exchanged for half a bag of potatoes. Yoon Hyuk said he did not fancy tomatoes and did not have time to take care of plants. Se-ri told him to take care of the plant as though it is a pet and talk to it frequently. Even though he said he did not like the plant, he acted otherwise and spoke to the plant when Se-ri left. They gathered together and everyone started feeling sentimental and did not want to part ways with her. In the evening, Yoon Hyuk drove Se-ri to the port and she thanked him for saving her and appreciated him for everything that he had done for her. After dropping her off at the port, she was afraid to take the boat alone, so he accompanied her. However, they encountered an issue on the way when the Coast Guard saw the boat and instructed for the boat to stop. Se-ri and Yoon Hyuk went to hide below the deck. The boatman tried to bribe the Coast Guard with a phone card but it was useless and they panicked. Se-ri told Yoon Hyuk to think of a solution and the only solution he came up with was to pretend that they were being intimate as seen in South Korea dramas. As they opened the cabin door, Yoon Hyuk leaned in and kissed Se-ri passionately. The Coast Guard called them out. The captain explained that the couple wanted to go fishing at sea, which was why he brought them, and continued saying that they were newlyweds, so they wanted some romantic time alone in the sea. Surprisingly, the Coast Guard bought into their ridiculous excuse, and even though they are safe, Se-ri missed her chance to board the ship to South Korea. She turned back towards the shore as she watched the departing ship. She was upset, but she consoled herself and said that life was full of obstacles, and she would have the chance again. She asked Jung Hyuk if it was possible for her to leave next week, however he said that since the Coast Guards had been tightening their control, it would take another 10 to 15 days for her to return to South Korea. Se-ri suddenly flared up at Jung Hyuk and said that he was not comforting her at all and making the situation worse. She then brought up the kiss earlier, and Jung Hyuk was baffled by her sudden change in mood. After returning to the village, Se-ri left a note for Jung Hyuk before leaving with a parachute. She intended to head back to the same cliff and used the parachute to return to South Korea. She on the walkie-talkie to reach her team, but there was no response. Jung Hyuk arrived in time and said that he knew she would come here because he heard her in the morning. He said that she managed to arrive here because there was a tornado and nobody noticed her. However, if she goes now, the border guards will see her immediately and she would be captured and killed. Jung Hyuk suddenly heard Se-ri's walkie-talkie emitting a signal, and he said that the team would arrive within 10 minutes. As Jung Hyuk predicted, Cheo Gang received a notification about the suspicious signals coming from the mountains and sent people over to check. As they had no other options, Jung Hyuk pulled Se-ri close to him and jumped down together. He held Se-ri's head tightly, and she said she was thankful for him. They held each other tightly, and they managed to land safely. On the other hand, Cheo Gang made a wasted trip as they failed to capture Se-ri. Se-ri returned to the village and had a meal with the team members. They reassured her that there must be another way for her to return to South Korea. After arriving here, she had undergone a complete transformation. She rarely ate breakfast in the past, and if she did it was a lavish spread, but now even a simple snack of burnt rice with sugar tasted delicious to her. Se-ri suddenly said that the main reason she couldn't leave was because Jung Hyuk's position wasn't high enough, and if he held a higher rank he could help her. Ji-soo mentioned that for him to get promoted, he had to earn the favor of high-ranking officers. These officers had the privilege of promoting those they favored, however Jung Hyuk was not favored by the high-ranking officials. Se-ri immediately took action and went to the lieutenant colonel's wife, Young Ae, birthday party so that she can get close to her and ask for her help. At this moment, Gwang Bom informed that Se-ri attended Young Ae birthday party because she wanted to help him get promoted. Jung Hyuk commented that Se-ri always does unnecessary things, but deep down he was happy. But Gwang Bom continued by saying that she did that because she believed that Jung Hyuk had no authority, that is why he could not help her escape. Jung Hyuk's expression suddenly changed. In the evening, Jung Hyuk rode his bicycle to the colonel house. He wanted to pretend to meet Se-ri by chance, so he kept cycling around the house, but Se-ri told him that she knew he was intentionally waiting for her. She even said that the bicycle seat was wrapped and it was prepared for her. Jung Hyuk rode her home and Se-ri said that Jung Hyuk was caring for her, but he stubbornly denied it. The next morning, Jung Hyuk was brewing coffee, and when Se-ri woke up and saw that he was making coffee she was surprised as she did not expect North Korea to have coffee. Jung Hyuk said that he studied abroad before and he brought coffee along with him when he returned. As Jung Hyuk was about to leave for work, Se-ri expressed her gratitude to him and she gave him a heart with her fingers. Jung Hyuk did not understand the symbol and asked Ju Myok for the meaning of this gesture. Ju Myok said that it represents a heart and that she wants to give her heart to him. After hearing this, Jung Hyuk was shocked as he already had a fiancée. In order to bond with Young Ae, Se-ri went for a walk with her and the street vendors introduced them to high-end cosmetics from South Korea. Se-ri was surprised to see her company's cosmetics here and enthusiastically introduced the product to Young Ae. Young Ae said that she was very knowledgeable and grew fonder of her. However, she suddenly lost her way and could not find the rest. Jung Hyuk immediately ran to the market to search for her after hearing the news. She stood anxiously in the middle of the market looking at the bustling crowd and felt fearful as she remembered the scene of being abandoned by her mother on the beach. Jung Hyuk held a candle and ran through the market. She suddenly saw the candle and ran towards him. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw her and jokingly told her that this was the scented candle she had requested. Tears of happiness welled up in Se-ri's eyes, and she told Yoon Hyuk that any girl would be touched by his actions. At that point, Yoon Hyuk told her that he already had a fiancé, but Se-ri said it did not bother her as she had plenty of men pursuing her, which is why she had to hurry back to Korea. After hearing that, Yoon Hyuk felt a tingle of jealousy, but the two continued to chat as they walked home. Se-ri told Yoon Hyuk that he should not do time, but he explained that he wanted to save her, so he had no choice but to call her his fiancée. Se-ri said she was worried that his real fiancé would find out about this, but he said that she was studying in Russia for the time being and would not be back so soon. But moments later, when they reached home, Yoon Hyuk saw Seo-dan waiting for him in front of his gate. Seo-dan greeted Yoon Hyuk warmly and he was about to introduce Se-ri. Seo-dan interrupted him, saying that she wanted to use the upcoming days to arrange for their parents to meet. She was about to leave, but Yoon Hyuk was concerned about her safety and offered to take her back to Pyongyang. He told Seo-dan that Se-ri was his fellow comrade and they are working on a mission. Se-ri nodded in agreement and Seo-dan questioned if they will still be together after completing their mission. Yoon Hyuk affirmed that he would not meet Se-ri again once they are done. As Se-ri prepared to leave, Yoon Hyuk held her arm and told her to wait for him at home and not wander around by herself. While Yoon Hyuk was driving Seo-dan back, he could not stop glancing at the rearview mirror, and she knew that Yoon Hyuk had fallen for Se-ri. Seo-dan mentioned to Yoon Hyuk that this was their 7th meeting, with 4 times involving their parents and the 5th time being their engagement ceremony, which happened 7 years ago. She expressed that she wanted to go through with the marriage as her parents had arranged and hoped that Yoon Hyuk would cooperate. Yoon Hyuk said that he would try his best to cooperate. Se-ri was at home waiting for Yoon Hyuk and there was noise outside, so she excitedly ran to the door, however was disappointed when she realized it wasn't Yoon Hyuk but Young Ae and her friends. They expressed deep sympathy for Se-ri and she awkwardly thanked them for their concern, but they rushed into the house to drink with her. Young Ae said they should shun Yoon Hyuk to support Se-ri. Se-ri was at a loss for words and just drank with them. After the party, she escorted them to the door and Young Ae told Se-ri to speak up if she needed help. Se-ri took the opportunity to ask Young Ae for help regarding Yoon Hyuk's promotion and Young Ae said she will help her with it. Se-ri went back and drank beer on her own, while waiting for Yoon Hyuk. When he returned home the next day, he noticed the boundary line made by Se-ri beer cans as she was upset that he did not come home the previous night. She said he should have been home by 1 a.m. after sending Seo-dan back, but he only returned in the morning and was clearly displeased. He explained that he was out all night as he was finding a way for Se-ri to return home. He said that he had asked his father to make Se-ri a reserve member of the national track and field team and this way she could travel to Europe without any issues, and she could go back to South Korea from there. They had to go to take a passport photo and make a passport for her in Pyongyang. Cheo-gang continued to spy on Yoon Hyuk as he doubted Se-ri's identity. He even personally interrogated Yoon Hyuk team members and beat them up when they refused to talk. Fortunately, Yoon Hyuk arrived in time to rescue them and was angry with Cheo-gang for doing that to his team. Yoon Hyuk felt bad for making them suffer, but Joo Myeok said that they are family and it was okay. However, Chi-soo said that it was Se-ri's fault and she should apologize to everyone. Se-ri felt bad and apologized to them. She wanted to offer them a token, but had nothing with her, so she offered was a heart gesture. Everyone was left speechless by her gesture. As the group left, Yoon Hyuk told everyone to return to their respective units, and told them he would take Se-ri to Pyongyang to get her passport. As Yoon Hyuk was jealous that she offered heart gestures to everyone, he said that he would sleep on the bed. The next day, they went to Pyongyang by train and Se-ri was worried that things would go wrong and Yoon Hyuk's father also warned him that he had to take full responsibility if anything went wrong. However, he reassured her and told her that everything would go well. At this moment, the train suddenly stopped due to a power outage and they had to wait for 15 hours for the train to operate again. They stopped by a grassland area to rest and Se-ri was staring at the people sitting nearby. Later Yoon Hyuk bought her a blanket when he realized that she wanted one. Later, Se-ri wanted to eat corn and he ran off to buy some for her. She told him that he was a very kind-hearted person and that he would definitely be a good husband and father in the future. However, Jung Hyuk said that he had never thought about the future much, because if things does not go as expected, he will be disappointed. At that moment, he suddenly recalled an incident from the past. While he was studying abroad, his brother suddenly passed away. Se-ri patted his back to comfort him and told him that sometimes the wrong train will take us to the place we want to go. She also told him she was a good example, and that made him smile. Jung Hyuk took off his coat and covered Se-ri as she dozed off and even offered his shoulder for her to lean on. When they arrived in Pyongyang, Se-ri went to take her passport photos. She wanted to take one with Jung Hyuk and he refused. However, when they left, he turned back and asked the shop owner for a copy of Se-ri's photograph. As they stepped out of the shop, Jung Hyuk saw Se-ri's ex-boyfriend Sung Joon pulling Se-ri towards an elevator. He caught up with them and saw them holding hands. He immediately pressed Sung Joon against the wall and demanded for his identification documents. Se-ri said Jung Hyuk was a bodyguard and asked him to release Sung Joon. Jung Hyuk felt frustrated as she said he was a mere bodyguard when he wanted to be someone more. He then escorted Se-ri to her hotel room and told her not to make any noise while he removed all the wiretapping devices, and said that all hotels had such surveillance equipment. After that, Se-ri told Jung Hyuk that she should ask Sung Joon for help to inform her family as he knew her brother. Se-ri met Sung Joon during a blind date arranged by her brother and felt that it was fate that they met again in North Korea. Jung Hyuk disagreed with her and told her that she should not trust anyone easily. When Seo-dan learned that Jung Hyuk was at Pyongyang, she told her mom to make an appointment with Jang Hyuk's parents for dinner and went to find him. She told him about the dinner and he complied. During the dinner, Jung Hyuk's mother complimented Seo-dan and Seo-dan's mother told them that her daughter was growing old and they should get married as soon as possible. Jung Hyuk's father proceeded to set the date on the last Saturday of the upcoming month. Jung Hyuk's mother told him that if it is too rushed they can change it, however Jung Hyuk said that he will follow his dad's wishes. Se-ri bumped into Seo-dan in the restroom as she was also at the same restaurant meeting up with Sung Joon. Seo-dan told Se-ri that they will be holding their wedding in the upcoming month, but Se-ri said she will not be in North Korea so she could not attend the wedding. After the meal, Jung Hyuk escorted Seo-dan and her mother to their car and rushed off to find Se-ri. He took Se-ri to have beer by the river as she wanted to experience it. While they were having beer, there was snow falling outside and Se-ri said that if a couple in love watches the first snowfall together they will stay together forever. Se-ri fell asleep on Jung Hyuk's shoulders and he wanted to push her away, but she asked him to let her lean on his shoulder a while more, because she will leave soon. She also suggested that the group go on a picnic together as she wanted to create more beautiful memories with everyone. The next day, they went on a picnic together. Everyone was having fun, eating and drinking together. Even Chi-soo prepared a poem as a farewell gift for her. Se-ri decided to sing a song for everyone and when she saw Jung Hyuk walking towards her, she looked at him affectionately. In the evening, Jung Hyuk told Se-ri to forget everything that happened there including him and he wished that she will have a happy life. At this moment, Man Bok was still eavesdropping on Jung Hyuk under Cheo-gang's orders, but he was touched by their conversation and was conflicted. But in the end, he made a phone call to inform Cheo-gang that Se-ri was leaving the next day. Gwang Bong was driving Se-ri to the airport when he discovered two trucks following closely behind him. At the same time, an identical truck appeared to be incoming and Se-ri panicked. Jung Hyuk appeared on his motorbike and shot repeatedly at the wheel of the truck, but the soldier used a gun to shoot at him and the motorbike fell to the ground. They managed to avoid one of the truck, however, the other trucks continued chasing Se-ri. The truck will not stop until they were killed. When the truck was about to crash into their car, Jung Hyuk appeared and he pushed the motorbike towards the truck and continuously shot at the motorbike's gas tank. The truck was instantly destroyed by a huge fire, and Se-ri jumped out of the car, quickly, and rushed to Jung Hyuk. The truck driver got up and opened fire towards Se-ri, but Jung Hyuk used his body to shield her. Gwang Bom was also shot in the leg. Despite being shot, Jung Hyuk still tried to kill the driver and he lost consciousness shortly after. It turned out that before they departed, Jung Hyuk had planned this, to protect Se-ri. He was busy modifying his motorbike and also went to secure substantial amount of weapons to protect her. He promised Se-ri that as long as she is within his sight, he would protect her without fail. Gwang Bom rushed to check Yoon Hyuk's injuries while Se-ri drove him to the hospital. She had to forego the opportunity to go to the airport and was thus unable to return to South Korea. At the hospital, Yoon Hyuk was in critical condition and needed a blood transfusion. The hospital has run out of blood and was scattering to find some. Gwang Bom told Se-ri that if she did not go to the airport, now it will be too late. However, Se-ri chose to stay and donate blood to Yoon Hyuk. While waiting for Yoon Hyuk outside the operating room, she took out his blood-soaked uniform and found her ID card photo inside and was emotional. The doctor informed her that Yoon Hyuk's surgery had gone smoothly and she was relieved. She sat by his bedside to keep watch over him through the night and talked about their beautiful memories together. While Yoon Hyuk was sleeping, he also remembered himself playing the piano and the audience in the auditorium cheering wildly, but when the performance ended, his friend informed him that his older brother had a car accident and his family wanted him to return home. While he was standing by the lake, a little girl requested for him to play a song and it was the last song he played. Yoon Hyuk suddenly woke up and he saw Se-ri standing by the window. He was extremely as she blew her chance of returning to Korea. She tried to explain, but he told her that everyone risked their lives for her to return home and now their efforts went down the drain, and if she stays, she will cause trouble for everyone. She was deeply upset by his words, but because she did not want to agitate him, she left. When the doctor came to check on him, the doctor told him Se-ri donated her blood to him so he managed to live, and it was lucky that their blood types were the same. They also went on to tell him that Se-ri cried the whole time while he was in surgery, and she was still crying even after he woke up. The doctor's words made Yoon Hyuk reflect on himself. Se-ri was sobbing outside the hospital, and when she turned around, she saw Yoon Hyuk. He apologized to her for his harsh words, but she said she was happy that he was alive and did not have time to be angry with him. Yoon Hyuk asked her why did she not leave when she wanted to return home so badly, and she told him she couldn't leave because she wanted to protect him even if it was just once. She told Yoon Hyuk not to look at her with such affectionate eyes, and Yoon Hyuk leaned in to kiss her. His teammates came to visit, but Yoon Hyuk was pretending to sleep and Se-ri sent them away. She asked Yoon Hyuk why he had to pretend, and he said he was too embarrassed to face them. That night, Yoon Hyuk told Se-ri to sleep on his bed and he would lie on the floor instead. But Se-ri said that he has not recovered and should not lie on the floor, so they ended up sleeping together on the bed. Later Seo-dan and her mom came to visit Yoon Hyuk. When she saw his clothes placed by the window with a heart-shaped pattern, she knew that Se-ri was here. Yoon Hyuk took this opportunity to tell Seo-dan the truth and that he had feelings for Se-ri. But Seo-dan insisted that he was sad because Se-ri is leaving soon and that was why she made his heart flutter. But she ended off telling him that the wedding would go on. To avoid Cheogang, Se-ri came to take refuge at Sung-jun's villa. Seo-dan was out shopping for a wedding dress, and while flipping through the magazine, she read about Se-ri and learned that she was the daughter of a famous tycoon in South Korea. She took the magazine and was on the way to find Yoon Hyuk. On the other hand, Yoon Hyuk could not find Se-ri and asked the hospital director to check the surveillance camera, and he discovered that Se-ri was picked up by a random man. He investigated and found that the car belonged to a guest house. Yoon Hyuk intended to look for Se-ri was stopped by Seo-dan. He admitted to Seo-dan that he knew Se-ri's true identity, but he wanted to help her hide and was assisting her to return to South Korea. He knew that if everything were to be exposed he would be in danger, but he was determined to get Se-ri back home safely. Sung-jun told Se-ri that because Yoon Hyuk got injured from protecting her he had caught the attention of high-ranking military officials. If she genuinely likes him she should disappear from his sight. Se-ri felt conflicted after hearing this. Yoon Hyuk drove an ambulance to look for Se-ri, but it was late at night and he almost fell off a cliff, so he had to return to the hospital. His teammates helped him locate the guest house, and the next morning Yoon Hyuk followed the coordinates and trekked through the forest. After reaching the location, he cut off the power supply and managed to sneak in successfully. Se-ri was surprised to see him, and when he saw her, he asked if she was injured anywhere. Tears welled up in Se-ri's eyes and she asked him why was he not at the hospital as he was still recovering. Jung Hyuk told her that he was afraid she would be waiting for him, but to protect Jung Hyuk's life, Se-ri lied and said that she was not waiting for him and even said that she would get engaged to Sun Jun as part of the plan to return home. Jung Hyuk turned away and left and Se-ri stood in the snow and cried. However, she could not stop thinking if Jung Hyuk would be safe in this snowstorm and decided to drive and take him back to the hospital. Jung Hyuk held Se-ri tightly in his arms. As she tried to start the car to bring him back to the hospital, she realized that the car was out of petrol and they had to go to a nearby house to seek shelter. They made a fire to keep warm and talked the entire night. Se-ri suddenly asked about Jung Hyuk's first love, but he did not reply and just leaned on her. The next day they returned to the village together and on Christmas, Se-ri prepared a gift for Jung Hyuk. She walked home with the gift in her hand, but suddenly she was held at gunpoint by two men and was forced into the truck. The watch she had bought for Jung Hyuk fell onto the ground. The man told her to call Jung Hyuk and told her to tell him that she had left North Korea. Jung Hyuk was worried and kept asking Se-ri where she was and said that he will look for her even if it is far away. The gunman told her to hang the phone up and when she did not want to, he snatched the phone away. He accidentally pulled the trigger while they were struggling and Jung Hyuk heard the sound of gunshot and got extremely worried. Se-ri was also worried but she tried to regain her composure, but all that came to her mind was the memories between her and Jung Hyuk. From the time he made noodles for her to the time where he always tried to buy things she requested and his constant assurance that everything would be alright. Se-ri was taken to meet Jung Hyuk's father, but she mistakenly thought of him as Seo Dan's father. She told him she had no intention of pursuing Jung Hyuk and said that it was a series of unexpected events. So Jung Hyuk's father said to her that in summary, she is saying that it is all Jung Hyuk's fault. Se-ri quickly dismissed his opinion and said it was her fault because she had threatened Jung Hyuk and he had no choice. She also said that she liked Jung Hyuk, but it was one-sided love. Jung Hyuk's mother was standing outside the door and overheard everything. At night, Jung Hyuk's mother went to look for Se-ri, and she quickly inquired about his condition as she was worried about him. She took Se-ri's hand and led her to the living room to rest. Se-ri looked around the room and felt a sense of familiarity and realized that she was Jung Hyuk's mother. She even cooked a warm bowl of noodles for her and as they were chatting, she revealed that Jung Hyuk had also cooked noodles for her in the past. Jung Hyuk's mother seemed to be fond of Se-ri. After receiving the news, Jung Hyuk drove home. As soon as he entered the door, he hurriedly asked his father about Se-ri's location and also told his father that he did not want to have any more regrets if anything were to happen. After hearing Jung Hyuk's confession, his mom led Se-ri outside and the two lovers were finally reunited. As soon as they met, they were only concerned about one another and forgot about Jung Hyuk's parents who were sitting nearby. His father left after seeing the scene. Later on, he asked Jung Hyuk why he did not report Se-ri's situation to the authorities and Jung Hyuk said that he was afraid Se-ri would be mistreated as he did not trust the state security team. Se-ri turned to look at Jung Hyuk affectionately and Jung Hyuk's dad could not stand the two of them being lovey-dovey and told them to leave but Jung Hyuk's mother insisted that they stay for dinner. After dinner, they sat in his room and talked to each other. Se-ri knew that Jung Hyuk was very knowledgeable about the piano and asked him about a piano piece she had heard previously. She said it was a beautiful piece, but she did not know the name of it. She walked over to the piano and played it for Jung Hyuk. He immediately recognized that it was the piece he had written for his brother. It turned out that a few years ago they had met each other and his music had saved her when she felt like giving up on life. That night, Jung Hyuk escorted Se-ri to the border, but he wanted to stay with Se-ri a little longer, so he chose a longer route. They reluctantly parted ways, but when he saw her silhouette getting farther away, he crossed the border and kissed her. On the other hand, Se-ri's company front lobby lies a portrait of Se-ri, and all of a sudden she appeared and took off her glasses to reveal her identity. Everyone was extremely surprised by her appearance, and she urged everyone started taking photos of her. The news of Se-ri being alive spread like wildfire. She then appeared at the board meeting for the appointment of the new director, and everyone was shocked to see her return, especially her sister-in-law, who wanted to take over her position. Se-ri went home and leisurely savored her wine and soaked herself in a large bathtub. She did not need to worry about the sudden power outages anymore. She had everything she needed except Yoon Hyuk. She missed him terribly. Yoon Hyuk in North Korea was also thinking of her and imagined Se-ri being by his side. When Yoon Hyuk was on his usual night patrol, Manbok came to find him. He confessed his sins to Yoon Hyuk and told him he felt disgusted by his eavesdropping job. He said that in the past, because of his job, nobody wanted to be friends with him, only Yoon Hyuk's older brother was warm and compassionate towards him and even got him a birthday gift. However, one day Cheo Gang threatened him with his mother's smuggling operation and he was forced to spy on Yoon Hyuk's brother. Through the eavesdropping process, he discovered that Yoon Hyuk's brother was holding evidence that proved Cheo Gang corruption, bribery, and even murder offenses. He hid all the evidence in the watch that Yoon Hyuk had given him and left the watch at the pawn shop. He did not know that his act of reporting all the above to Cheo Gang caused Yoon Hyuk's brother death, and he was deeply guilty. He returned Yoon Hyuk's brother watch to him and told him that Se-ri was the one that bought the exact same watch, but dropped the watch when she was kidnapped, and his son found the watch and gave it to him. Yoon Hyuk found the memory card hidden inside his brother's watch, which contained all the evidence of Cheo Gang's team wrongdoing. After reading it, he immediately sent a fax to his dad and Cheo Gang was sent to prison. During the trial, there was sufficient evidence presented against Cheo Gang and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, he showed no remorse and threatened Yoon Hyuk that he would kill the woman he loved. The military vehicle escorting Cheo Gang to prison was attacked and he managed to escape. After escaping, he called Yoon Hyuk and told him that he would go to South Korea to kill Se-ri. On her way home from work, Se-ri was followed by Cheo Gang. Fortunately, the security guards on patrol appeared and Cheo Gang could not do anything to her. Se-ri was unable to fall asleep as she was thinking about Yoon Hyuk. Despite taking sleeping pills, she still could not sleep, so she decided to go for a walk. All of a sudden, it began to snow, and Se-ri spotted Yoon Hyuk in the crowd. Yoon Hyuk looked at her with teary eyes and walked up to her. As he did not know where she stayed, he had to search for a long time before he managed to find her. Se-ri was touched and hugged Yoon Hyuk tightly, and she asked about the scars on his face. He had gotten the scars because he crawled through the small tunnel connecting North and South Korea for 20 hours. This tunnel was not well maintained, but Yoon Hyuk disregarded the danger and crawled through it. Se-ri was overwhelmed with emotions and burst into tears as the two of them reunited after a long time. In North Korea, Manbok and Yoon Hyuk's teammates were captured by Yoon Hyuk's father. He had gathered them together and informed everyone that Yoon Hyuk had escaped to South Korea and their secret mission was to safely bring Yoon Hyuk back to North Korea. Everyone left for South Korea in the disguise of athletes participating in the military Olympics. They were given 2 weeks to complete their mission. After arriving in South Korea, the 5 of them would secretly separate themselves from the athlete team. While walking on the street, Jisoo told them they had to behave in a way that resembles South Koreans to blend in successfully. Later on, they went to a sauna room for an overnight stay and thoroughly enjoyed themselves. They felt refreshed and relaxed, but Jisoo quickly reminded that they needed to be vigilant as they were here on a mission. Just then, Gwang Bom brought a table of food in and told them that there was no cash required and all the cashier required was to scan the digital bracelet on his wrist. Everyone was impressed by how things were. As Se-ri did not want Yoon Hyuk to stand out too much, she took him to shop for clothes to make him blend in. When they arrived at the mall, Se-ri picked out outfits for Yoon Hyuk and when he changed into it, she was mesmerized by him. Even the shop assistant was impressed by his good looks and Se-ri was jealous. She claimed that his looks were average, but deep down, she thought otherwise. When Yoon Hyuk changed into another outfit, the store assistant told Se-ri she was lucky for having such a good-looking boyfriend. Se-ri was beaming with joy and decided to buy the entire store for Yoon Hyuk. When they were leaving, Yoon Hyuk, being kind-hearted as ever, held the door for everyone and he stood at the door like a doorman. When they arrived at the company, Se-ri introduced Yoon Hyuk to her secretary and said that he was her personal bodyguard. The secretary asked if she was dating someone again as she would only hire a personal bodyguard when she is dating. Yoon Hyuk started sulking and Se-ri quickly explained that she is not dating anyone. Not long later, the video of Yoon Hyuk holding the door for everyone spread online and the netizens think that Yoon Hyuk had a great face and heart. He was secretly happy when he saw the comments. Se-ri was jealous, but she could not do anything. At this time, Yoon Hyuk received a message that Cheo Gang was in South Korea. Se-ri installed a location-sharing app for Yoon Hyuk and when Yoon Hyuk arrived at the location, he realized that it was a trap set up by Cheo Gang. Se-ri walked past Cheo Gang but did not recognize him. She proceeded to the parking lot and noticed someone sitting in the back seat of her car. Se-ri pretended not to see anything and quickly turned and ran away. While fleeing, she accidentally dropped her phone. After dealing with the people that Cheo Gang planted, Yoon Hyuk called Se-ri, but she did not answer. He quickly opened the tracking app and rushed to the parking lot after seeing her location. When he arrived, he called her again, but this time the person who picked up the call was Cheo Gang. When he arrived, Cheo Gang was pointing a gun at him and just when Cheo Gang was about to hurt Se-ri, all the lights in the garage went out. Se-ri told Yoon Hyuk that she was safe and advised him to leave. Upon hearing her voice, Yoon Hyuk rushed over and covered her mouth. They both were relieved to see one another safe. Yoon Hyuk's teammates split up during the day to look for Yoon Hyuk and in the evening they would gather at the sauna to update each other on the situation. However, all of them failed at the mission. Manbok went around eavesdropping, but he walked past Se-ri without even recognizing her. Instead he was caught up in gossip he heard along the way. For Chi-soo, he ended up being a ballet attendant and even a delivery rider. Even though Yoon Hyuk ordered chicken delivery as Chi-soo was eating, he was not able to send the chicken to Yoon Hyuk. The other two were terrible. They ended up going to an internet cafe to watch Korean dramas and play video games. Little did they know, Yoon Hyuk was on the opposite end playing the same game with them. Yoon Hyuk then found a tape recorder and he heard Se-ri's last words on her birthday a few years ago. There was also a recording of the moment where he asked her to take a photo for him. It turned out that Yoon Hyuk had met Se-ri abroad a few years ago. Yoon Hyuk and Seo Dan went overseas according to their parents' wishes, and after recording her final wishes, Se-ri was prepared to jump off a bridge and commit suicide. However, at the same time, Yoon Hyuk approached Se-ri to take a photo for him and Seo Dan. Yoon Hyuk was shocked to know the sad truth behind her life. Se-ri and Yoon Hyuk spent their days together. They went to work together early in the morning and drank soju and talked to each other in the evening. Yoon Hyuk also expressed his desire to stay with her and marry her and for them to have children. He said he wished to perform the pian again and wants to be with Se-ri till she grows old. The five guys on the other hand finally found information that Se-ri was about to open a new store and they wanted to use this opportunity to sneak in to find Yoon Hyuk. At the opening ceremony, Se-ri spoke confidently in front of the audience and Yoon Hyuk stood beside her quietly giving her support. They could not stop taking their eyes off each other. The five guys strutted into Se-ri's opening ceremony and pretended to be customers. Chi-soo pretended to be rich and said that he will buy all the items on the condition that the director meet him face to face, but his plan failed miserably, and they ran away. This scene was saw by Yoon Hyuk and after escaping one of them realized that he had lost his shoes. Just then, Yoon Hyuk appeared with a pair of shoes and they reunited after a long time apart. Everyone was deeply moved and happy to have found one another and Se-ri was reunited with them. She hugged everyone and was happy to see them. When they arrived at Se-ri's house, they were shocked by what they saw. There was a heater in the bathroom, there were lights that did not go off and the floor had a heating system too. They ate barbecue together and Yoon Hyuk said that it must have been difficult for everyone to travel such long distance to look for him. Yoon Hyuk said that he would grill meat for the team but ended up serving everything to Se-ri. After the meal, Se-ri accidentally heard Yoon Hyuk talking to Manbok that they had to prepare to return to North Korea since they found Yoon Hyuk. Yoon Hyuk, however, is worried that Cheo Gang will harm Se-ri, so he wanted to capture Cheo Gang before leaving. The next day, Se-ri said her goodbyes to Yoon Hyuk and the others. She was sad, but she had a meeting early in the morning so she had to leave. She had already prepared herself that Yoon Hyuk will leave anytime and she should not cling on to him. Yoon Hyuk was about to say something, but she interrupted him and quickly walked out of the door. When Se-ri returned home that evening, she saw that the house was pitch black and she realized that Yoon Hyuk and his teammates had left. She immediately sat down and cried as she felt lonely and all alone again. Suddenly, the lights inside the house came on and Yoon Hyuk and his team actually prepared a surprise birthday party for her, however she cried even more. She stood up and rushed outside. Yoon Hyuk quickly followed her. She said she left not because she was angry, but she was afraid that in the future she would have to celebrate her birthday alone and it would remind her of today, which will make her even sadder. Yoon Hyuk embraced and comforted her. After she calmed down, they returned to the house and they sang a birthday song for her. She looked at everyone and said that she wants to keep this beautiful moment in her heart forever. After the party ended, Yoon Hyuk came looking for Se-ri. He told her that he wanted to give her a gift, but also told her that the gift did not have any special meaning. He took out a pair of couple rings and personally put it on Se-ri's finger. She thanked Yoon Hyuk and told him that she would never take off this ring because she will never forget Yoon Hyuk, and they looked at each other affectionately. The next morning, Se-ri summoned the five of them and pulled out a black card. She wanted to do something for them before they left and wanted them to buy things for themselves. They took the black card to the clothing store and went shopping. They had a great time together and bought a lot of things and happily returned home. Se-ri and Yoon Hyuk drove to a suspension bridge and he mentioned that he was there when he saw a woman who wanted to jump off the bridge and commit suicide, so he asked the girl to take a photo for him. Upon hearing that, she immediately realized that the person Yoon Hyuk was talking about was her. She was surprised that they had met before and Yoon Hyuk was the one who was always by her side whenever she wanted to give up. That evening, they had dinner with the rest at the fried chicken restaurant and everyone ate and drank happily. They temporarily put aside the sadness of having to say goodbye and just decided to enjoy themselves. When Man-bok went out to smoke, he ran into Cheo-gang. Cheo-gang showed Man-bok a photo of his son to threaten him. He told him to reveal the truth about Yoon Hyuk and his team. As Man-bok was very worried about his son, he had to agree to Cheo-gang's request. The next day, Se-ri's brother suddenly called Se-ri to inform her that their mother was sick and asked her to go to the hospital. After hanging up the phone, her brother gave her driving room to Cheo-gang and told him to make Se-ri disappear from his life so that he can regain his inheritance. After Se-ri left, Man-bok called Cheo-gang to report her whereabouts. On the way, Se-ri was pursued and stopped by 3 cars. She had to stop her car in the middle of the road and before she could react, a group of thugs got out of the cars armed with bats. On the other hand, Yoon Hyuk went to a deserted place alone to meet Cheo-gang. A group of thugs rushed in, but he did not panic and fought fiercely. Even though he is very strong and good at fighting, there were too many of them. He was beaten up and surrounded by the thugs. At that moment, his teammates appeared with Se-ri's car. They were here to save Yoon Hyuk. It turned out that Man-bok told Yoon Hyuk about Cheo-gang's plan and Man-bok decided that he will do the right thing and fight Cheo-gang to the end. When Se-ri got into the car, the 5 of them hid in her car and got out of the car to deal with the thugs. After that they managed to save Yoon Hyuk in time. However, Cheo-gang captured Man-bok and fled. Yoon Hyuk came running out. Cheo-gang saw him and was about to shoot Yoon Hyuk. Se-ri, who was sitting in the car, drove the car to shield Yoon Hyuk from the bullet. The window shattered into pieces and Se-ri was unconscious. Yoon Hyuk immediately opened fire and shot Cheo-gang. He quickly opened the car door and hugged Se-ri as he was afraid to lose her. He rushed her to the hospital and they missed the opportunity to return to North Korea with the athletes. Everyone sat outside the hospital, worried about Se-ri's safety, and everyone could not hold back their tears. Se-ri finally woke up and even though she was still feeling extremely weak, she still chased her brother and sister-in-law out of the hospital room and called Yoon Hyuk in. When he heard that Se-ri had woken up, he immediately rushed towards her. They could not stop crying as they were so worried about one another and they embraced each other tightly. The other team members received the news and wanted to rush in, but when Jisoo saw them hugging, he closed the door and told the rest to wait outside. Se-ri saw them waiting and signaled for them to enter. They were so happy that Se-ri was alive. They wanted to hug her, but Yoon Hyuk was protective of her and did not want them to, so he said that she was injured and they should just shake hands instead. Yoon Hyuk was also puzzled to why the rest of them knew that Se-ri had woken up. Manbok explained that they disguised themselves as janitors and even placed a wiretap under the bed as they were worried about Se-ri's and wanted to get an update of her situation. They also learned that Se-ri's brother and sister-in-law were extremely mean, and they handed over the recording of her brother and his wife admitting that they had set Se-ri up. The next day, Se-ri wanted to sit up, but Yoon Hyuk told her to lie down first and he slowly helped her up. Yoon Hyuk is always by her side and attentively takes care of her. Se-ri asked her family to visit her in the hospital and played the recording of her brother and his wife for everyone to hear. The two of them finally admitted that they hired Cheo Gang to kill Se-ri. Se-ri's father was furious and removed his name from the company and said that he did not have a son like him. Her brother's wife called Cheo Gang and blamed him for being incompetent and useless, but he told her that the bodyguard who was Yoon Hyuk was also from North Korea. She reported this to the National Intelligence Agency as she wanted to take revenge on Se-ri. Yoon Hyuk also received a secret tip about Cheo Gang's hiding location and he immediately went to arrest him. The National Intelligence team also followed him. Yoon Hyuk pointed his gun at Cheo Gang and the National Intelligence team were on standby outside and told them to surrender, otherwise they will shoot. However, Cheo Gang turned around and pulled out a gun to shoot at Yoon Hyuk, and Cheo Gang was shot by the National Intelligence team and Yoon Hyuk was taken away. His teammates were also taken away. Se-ri was still in the hospital and did not know that they were taken away. She listened to Yoon Hyuk's recording again as he recorded a piano song for her to help her with her insomnia. Before Yoon Hyuk was taken away, he also bought a lot of food to stock up her refrigerator that was originally filled with mineral water. He arranged the refrigerator neatly and made sure that everything was placed properly so that she could reach them easily. When Yoon Hyuk was interrogated by the National Intelligence team, he remained silent and as he wanted to protect Se-ri and his parents and rather bear the consequences alone. When the chief came to personally question Yoon Hyuk for the reason he fled to South Korea, he said that it was because he knew Se-ri was the daughter of a tycoon, so he wanted to take Se-ri back to North Korea. Yoon Hyuk also said that his teammates were actually here to participate in the Olympics, but because of him, they could not return on time. Yoon Hyuk said that it was his fault and the others had nothing to do with this. When Se-ri met the police chief, she said that it was not Yoon Hyuk's fault, and explained the whole situation to him. She said that Yoon Hyuk did not take advantage of her, but only came here because Cheo Gang was going to kill her, so he came here to protect her. Se-ri asked the chief to take Yoon Hyuk and his team back to North Korea and that she will endure any punishment. The chief was confused as the two people's statements did not match at all, but another superior suggested to let them meet to access the situation. When the two of them met, Yoon Hyuk said words that hurt Se-ri. He said that he wanted to take advantage of her wealth, but had developed genuine feelings for her over time. Se-ri was upset upon hearing this, and she asked Yoon Hyuk why did he sacrifice himself and risk his life to cross into South Korea if all he wanted was to exploit her. Yoon Hyuk said that he came here to seek revenge on Cheo Gang as he learned that Cheo Gang killed his brother. Upon hearing this, Se-ri was heartbroken and left. She fainted along the corridor as she was still in weak health. Upon hearing that, Yoon Hyuk rushed outside and he was overcome with sorrow and began to cry. At the hospital, the doctor informed Se-ri's mother about her condition and she was diagnosed with an infection due to the gunshot wound. Furthermore, she had endured a significant emotional shock at this time. Se-ri fell into a coma and the doctor told her mom to prepare for the worst. Se-ri's vitals suddenly plummeted and when Yoon Hyuk received the news, he rushed to the hospital. Se-ri's heart suddenly stopped beating and the doctors performed emergency rescue. Se-ri's parents begged people from the National Intelligence Agency to let Yoon Hyuk visit. Yoon Hyuk was able to visit and he stood outside Se-ri's hospital room. The National Intelligence Agency held a meeting and they prepared to secretly send Yoon Hyuk and his team back to North Korea. After Se-ri woke up, her mother informed her that Yoon Hyuk and his comrades would be returning to North Korea today. Although Se-ri was deeply saddened by the news, she knew he had to go back. Knowing that Se-ri and Yoon Hyuk truly love one another, She told Se-ri that when she was unconscious Yoon Hyuk stood by her side without any food or sleep and did not move at all until she woke up. When she woke up, he was taken away by the National Intelligence Agency. After learning the truth, Se-ri could not stop her tears from flowing and her mother comforted her. She suddenly told her mom that she needed to see Yoon Hyuk before she left and asked her mom to drive her to meet him. Se-ri drove as quickly as she could. Just when Yoon Hyuk had crossed the military border, Se-ri caught up with him and ran towards him in distress. Yoon Hyuk managed to break free from the soldiers who were restraining him and ran towards Se-ri. They were concerned about each other's well-being and Se-ri was worried about Yoon Hyuk. Yoon Hyuk reassured her and told her to not worry about him. Se-ri was afraid that she and Yoon Hyuk would never be able to see each other again, which made her extremely sad. She expressed her love for him and Yoon Hyuk was taken away and they had to pull away reluctantly. Yoon Hyuk's comrades also bid farewell to Se-ri and asked her to take care of herself. After receiving the news, Yoon Hyuk's father immediately changed into his uniform and went out to welcome his son home. When he asked about Se-ri, Yoon Hyuk was teary and unable to say anything. Yoon Hyuk's father sighed deeply. Se-ri returned to her cold empty house, but she realized that the fridge was covered with sticky notes reminding her to eat and it was packed with food. She was lying on her bed and listening to the piano piece that Yoon Hyuk had recorded and she received a scheduled message from Yoon Hyuk telling her to look at the bookshelf. The books were arranged to spell out the words Yoon Se-ri, I love you. Yoon Hyuk had already scheduled the messages prior to leaving and she received daily messages from him. Even though they were not physically together, Yoon Hyuk reminded Se-ri to eat on time and encouraged her to hang out with her colleagues more instead of eating alone and to take walks regularly. On the other side, Yoon Hyuk's team also reminisced the days they spent in South Korea where they were able to enjoy hot water all day long and could play video games without power interruptions. Today, Se-ri received a potted plant that Yoon Hyuk had ordered in advance. She took care of the plant carefully and even spoke to the plant daily as Yoon Hyuk asked her to. The plant that Se-ri had gifted to Yoon Hyuk previously finally bloomed with fruit. It was Se-ri's birthday and Yoon Hyuk sent her one last message as he could only schedule messages for up to a year. The plant that Yoon Hyuk had gifted her finally bloomed beautifully and he had made a promise to meet her again, but she did not know when and just entrusted it to fate. Yoon Hyuk had been discharged from the military to join the National Symphony Orchestra and Se-ri went to visit Switzerland as per Yoon Hyuk's wish, but did not manage to meet him. Another year passed and Se-ri returned to Switzerland with the hope of meeting Yoon Hyuk again. This time she decided to go paragliding and when she landed she got tangled up in the parachute. After freeing herself from the parachute, she saw Yoon Hyuk standing right in front of her and they finally reunited. Once again, destiny had brought them together. Se-ri couldn't believe her eyes and ran to embrace Yoon Hyuk and asked him how he managed to find her. Yoon Hyuk replied that he had taken the wrong train and it brought him here, symbolizing that sometimes taking the wrong train will lead you to the right place. They shared a heartfelt kiss to express their long-awaited reunion and from then on she would visit Switzerland every year during this time to meet Yoon Hyuk. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our summary. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel.